the second part of a series of classes. They do offer another biology class that doesn't run very often. That is the first part of this class, but they don't need to be taken in order. This is my name. My name is Rick Besa. Here's my email. This is my personal cell phone. You're more than welcome to text me whenever you want. If you want to call me, I prefer that you send me a text and we arrange something. I don't usually talk on my phone very much if I don't recognize the number. Usually I don't answer it. So send me a text if we need to talk. But usually we can get most things done by either email or text. This is the Blackboard site. I'm not usually on campus very often. I'm more than happy to talk to you whenever you want on the phone. I will meet you in person, but we need to arrange whenever that is going to be. This is a 3 credit hour class and it's offered every semester. I'm going to skip the catalog description because we'll just deal with that when we get to the next section. There are no prerequisites for this class. In terms of computer skills and hardware requirements, as long as you can get online, you should be able to do anything it is that you need to do for this class. I would not rely on a tablet for this class. I would not rely on your cell phone. Some things you can do on that, but for the most part you're going to need somewhere where you can do some good word processing and you can submit documents. Okay? So the intended audience for this class is going to be non-majors. 21.4 is not for biology majors. If you are going to be going into the sciences, this is not going to meet the requirement that you need. Usually the people that take this class are elementary ed majors or are in communications disorders. They're in criminal justice, something where science is not going to be your major. If you do require a lab, there is a lab that goes along with this. I teach the online lab as well. It's Biology 2109. There is another lab that you can take if you want to take a face-to-face lab. I can't remember the number. I think it's 2107 off the top of my head, but 2109 is an online class. It's also usually offered every semester in conjunction with this course. So if you need that, or it might be a little late to get in there, but just send me an email and I can get you in there. It shouldn't be a problem. Okay? So that is our intended audience. Our rationale, you can go ahead and read that. I don't need to read that to you. So let's go ahead and talk about the book. I try to make this class as affordable as possible. I remember how much books were when I was in school, so we use Mater. Mater is a non-majors book. It's not nearly as comprehensive as, say, a majors class is. So this is that book. There actually is a newer version of this, but I really don't need the newer version. This one works fine for me and works fine for you. So this is the 11th edition. There's a card that comes with it. You do not need that card. I have all the materials that we need. We don't need access to their websites. So here are the objectives for the course. There are a whole ton of them, and ultimately what happens is on each exam I usually have one question from each one of these objectives. I know there's a ton of them in here. There's a bazillion, and it goes along with your book per chapter. So in terms of our outline, the first week of class is really simple, because what ends up happening is we get students transferring in or dropping or whatever. So I hate for students to come in like the second and third week and then having to make up a whole ton of stuff. So this first week is only worth about 15 points, and I need to make it really short so that people can get that stuff made up when there is a problem. Each week's assignments are usually some type of a post-test, which is a practice assignment, a practice multiple choice assignment that goes along with whatever the chapter is. I kind of explained that in the first week's video. And then there's usually some type of a written assignment that has to do with whatever that week is. Some of them are a little longer than others, so you may get more than one week to do them, like in the next week. So here, next week, we'll be starting on meiosis and mitosis. So there's 2 post-tests, and then there are 2 videos for you to watch. So the videos are basically designed to be the part of the instruction for the course. So you go through, take notes on the video. You'll submit them to me, and I explain that in the first week's material as well. Here's an example of a written assignment that you're going to do. The written assignments tend to be worth a few more points, so this one's worth 20 points, for example. Typically, the post-tests are worth 5 to 6 points, somewhere in there, and the videos are always worth 5 points each. So this week there's 2 chapters in week 2, there's 1 in week 3, there's 1 in week 4, and that will be the first unit. Each unit exam then is worth 100 points, and we'll have 3 unit exams total. There's a few things in here that might change, but for the most part the points are going to be cumulative. There's no percentage basis or anything like that in terms of, I used to make the exams worth half the grades and the assignments worth half the grade, but that just got goofy. People couldn't really figure out their grades very easily, and then when I changed things, people got confused, and so everything's just straight points now. So this is typical for this class. So there's usually somewhere around 570 points, and that gives everybody a good chance at getting whatever grade it is that they want to do. If you do poorly on one exam, then it's usually not that big of a deal in terms of earning your points, because there are plenty of assignments for you to make up for any poor grades that you may have. So in terms of grading scales, typical 90, 80, 70, 60. And these next sections are just an explanation of what each of the types of assignments are. These are going to be multiple choice assessments. Sometimes I do give some written stuff, but I've cut most of those out for the most part. Most of the assessments that I've done lately in the past years have all been just multiple choice. So the post-tests, like I said, I kind of explained these in the first week's materials. These are designed for you to basically work with whatever it is that you've read. It probably wouldn't even be a bad idea to just go ahead and do these. You could even do these before you read, and you could get an idea about what it is that you know and what you don't know, and then things that you don't do well on, then you can go and analyze. It's totally up to you in terms of how it is you do that, but the class is very flexible in terms of that. The good thing about the post-test, though, is, like I said, they're supposed to be practice. So you can go in there, you can take them as many times as you want to earn as many points as you want. This is your practice for the course. We don't really have internet questions anymore. I used to do those all the time. They're still in the syllabus, but I have not really done questions anymore. But you will have to do things like support your answers when you are writing. So if we do have questions that you need to answer, usually I either give you the source or tell you to go find a source. But just like any class, you're obviously not allowed to copy and paste off the internet. You do need to tell me where you're getting your answers from, if you're getting your stuff from the internet. So for example, you're going to be doing a genetic disease project shortly. So when you do that project, you need to tell me where exactly you're getting your sources from, and I have that an explanation of that assignment with that week's material. So you can go in there and it will tell you exactly what to do. There are rubrics for all of the assignments, and I will show you where exactly to get those when you're in one of the assignments. I haven't put that in the video yet, but I'll put it in another video that I'll show you. So there'll be rubrics for all the assignments. It's pretty straightforward in terms of how it is that you earn your points. We really don't have any group work in this class that I know of. Sometimes people do like to work with people outside of class. You're more than welcome to do that. But students are not allowed to hand in identical assignments, especially for projects. I can't think of any projects that you would need anyone in the class for. We used to do a lot of group work, and the people in this course seem to be so busy that I cut most of that out because it just ended up being a problem in terms of the course. So I took it out. I don't even know a better way to say that. So I like it. I like the class a little bit better this way because people can get things done when they want. You can work ahead, and if you need to get stuff done 2 weeks in advance, you can go ahead and do that, and you don't have to rely on another group to do whatever it is you need to do. Computer problems. I understand every once in a while you'll maybe have a computer problem or this or that, but I usually tell people make sure you have a backup in case you do have a computer problem. What is your alternate plan going to be? Is it going to be a library? Is it going to be a friend or a neighbor or your parents' house or whatever? Make sure you have a backup in terms of a computer problem, and always keep me in the loop. So if there are any major problems just make sure you send me a message if those problems are happening, and we can figure something out. In terms of communication, I make a lot of videos, I send you a lot of messages, so if you do have a problem, make sure that you tell me. I have had instances before where people end up in the hospital, or they end up having to go out of town because of a funeral or whatever. Just let me know when that's happening. Don't send me a message 3 weeks later that said I had to leave class for 3 weeks and now I want to make up all my stuff. Or it really comes into play when you want an incomplete. There is an actual policy for incompletes, and we can go and look at that at the end of the syllabus. But if anything's happening that I need to know, just shoot me a text, and I am usually pretty reasonable. In terms of repeating students, if there's anybody that's repeating the class, you are more than welcome to use your previous versions of assignments. Obviously, you're going to want to improve on them. We aren't collecting any data in this class anymore, but you should be able to use your stuff from the classes before. Okay? In terms of incompletes, there are a set of rules for actually getting an incomplete. What you don't want to do is you don't want to disappear for a month or two at a time and then come back and say, hey, I had this and this happen and I'd like an incomplete to finish, because the answer is going to be no. There is a series of steps that you must, or qualifiers that you must meet before you can get an incomplete. First, you need to have completed a significant portion of the course with an actual C or better, meaning like half the class. The second thing you need to do is you need to have all your work up to the date that you had this problem complete. The third thing you need to do is you need to be able to, once we agree that you've met those first two things, then we need to have a timeline that you are going to get your incomplete work done for me. And you need to keep me informed of what's going on when the incident actually occurred. Don't tell me, 10 weeks afterwards, hey, I had this problem, I want it incomplete, and you don't have any of the class done. And the incomplete must be asked for within a timely manner well before the end of the semester. Incompletes are designed for real emergency situations. They're not designed because you got behind or got busy or this or that. You have to either commit to the class or not commit to the class, and that's what we want to avoid. Okay, here's our typical Students with Disabilities Act, and I believe that is about it. So that is the syllabus. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, send me a text, and I will be more than happy to answer them.